In the expanding frontier of digital universes, a strange and unsettling truth begins to reveal itself. The moment a single person gains the power to rewrite reality, every rule that held the world together begins to crack. In online realms like Roblox, this moment is known as admin abuse. To many, it looks like simple chaos inside a game, but hidden inside that chaos lies something deeper, something that reflects human psychology, the nature of power, and even the fragile structure of the universes we inhabit. Tonight, we dive into the science behind these events, and along the way, we might uncover truths that extend far beyond a digital screen. Every virtual world begins with a set of rules. A developer writes them into existence. Gravity, movement speed, collision boundaries, hit points, variables that define everything from damage to direction. These rules act exactly like the laws of physics in our own universe. They tell the world how to behave. They create stability, predictability, and meaning. Without them, nothing makes sense. But unlike the laws of nature, which cannot be violated, digital laws can be broken instantly, absolutely, and without consequence by a single person who has the authority to override them. This person is the admin, a presence outside the system, controlling everything inside it. Once the admin decides to break the equilibrium, reality inside that world fractures. Scientists call this kind of disruption a system destabilizer. In nature, introducing a predator with no natural enemy destabilizes an ecosystem. In sociology, giving absolute power to one person destabilizes a society. In physics, altering even a single fundamental constant destabilizes the entire universe. In virtual worlds, admin abuse plays out all three scenarios at once. Predictability vanishes, and the digital universe enters a state of controlled or uncontrolled chaos. One of the most fascinating elements of admin abuse is the emergence of sudden mutations. In real biology, mutations are slow and unpredictable. They occur through radiation, replication errors, environmental stress. Evolution takes thousands, even millions of years. But in a digital universe, evolution is no longer tied to time. It becomes a command, a line of code, instant transformation. A character who was once limited by the world's rules can suddenly grow in size, strength, speed, or ability. They can regenerate instantly, move in impossible ways, or develop entirely new behaviors. What would take nature epochs to achieve happens in milliseconds. This raises an extraordinary idea. Virtual worlds are the first arenas in human history where evolution is not bound by biology. They offer a glimpse of what humanity may one day be capable of through genetic engineering and artificial intelligence. In digital space, we witness forms of life, or simulations of life, that can mutate without suffering the constraints of organic matter. It is evolution unbound, evolution rewritten, evolution directed by intelligence instead of nature. But why does admin abuse happen at all? Why do ordinary people, once granted these godlike abilities, begin manipulating the world in destructive or chaotic ways? Digital psychologists have a term for this: online God syndrome. When individuals receive absolute authority with no consequences, their behavior changes, impulse control weakens, empathy drops, risk-taking increases, dominance becomes enjoyable. Studies show that the brain releases dopamine during acts of control, especially when those acts directly influence others. In a virtual world, this influence is amplified. There is no real risk, no punishment, no moral cost. The mind, freed from accountability, begins to explore darker impulses. This transformation is not just a digital behavior, it is a mirror of human nature. History has repeatedly shown that when real people gain unchecked power, systems collapse, justice breaks, and chaos emerges. Virtual worlds simply allow this transformation to happen faster, more visibly, and without real-world consequences. They expose the psychology of authority in its rawest form. As admin abuse unfolds, players inside the world experience emotional responses similar to real-life disaster reactions: fear, panic, disorientation, and stress. This is because the human brain does not differentiate strongly between actual and perceived threats. Neurobiologically, it focuses on stimuli, not the source of those stimuli. A collapsing digital world can trigger genuine adrenaline and fight-or-flight responses. This phenomenon, known as simulated threat response, demonstrates something important. The boundaries between reality and digital experience are much thinner than we once believed. Virtual environments are capable of influencing human emotions, stress levels, and decisions just as powerfully as physical ones. Digital worlds also act as evolutionary laboratories. Mutations in these universes are not just game mechanics. They are simulations of hypothetical futures. Scientists studying genetic modification, AI evolution, and synthetic biology often rely on digital models because they allow researchers to bypass the limitations of organic matter. When we observe instant evolution in a virtual world, we are looking at a simplified version of what directed evolution in advanced scientific fields might look like if humanity ever gains the ability to rewrite biological rules as easily as digital ones. We will face the same dilemmas these virtual worlds demonstrate. How much mutation is too much? How fast should evolution move? What happens when stability is sacrificed for potential? A world without rules collapses. This is true in digital spaces, and it is true in ours. If gravity changed by even a tiny fraction, stars would never form. If the strong nuclear force were slightly weaker, atoms would not exist. Life is a product of fragile balance. Virtual universes are no different. When an admin begins rewriting physics without regard for stability, the world breaks. Our eye behavior becomes nonsensical. Objects lose coherence. Players lose purpose. Glitches become natural disasters. The universe begins to eat itself. This mirrors the fine-tuning principle in cosmology. For a universe to function, its constants must be precise. Stability is not normal. It must be maintained. This leads to a deeper, more uncomfortable question. Could admin abuse exist in reality? If consciousness can one day be digitized, if humans develop the ability to exist inside simulations, or if advanced civilizations already run simulated worlds, then someone must hold the authority to design or modify the rules. If our universe is a simulation, as some physicists and philosophers propose, then sudden, unexplained anomalies, particles that violate known laws, quantum events that contradict classical logic, could theoretically be signs of tampering. Someone, somewhere, could have the ability to alter the constants of our reality, just as an admin alters those of a game. If humans eventually create artificial worlds with fully conscious beings inside them, who decides the rules? Who maintains stability? Who prevents abuse? And if those with power choose chaos over order, would the simulated beings experience reality collapse, as players do inside digital admin abuse events today? These questions force us to reconsider our understanding of existence, authority, and the architecture of reality itself. Admin abuse may look like chaos inside a game, but it is actually a philosophical and scientific metaphor. It reveals the dangers of unregulated power, the fragility of systems, the accelerating nature of digital evolution, and the thin line between creation and destruction. It shows us that every universe, digital or real, survives because its rules hold firm. And when those rules break, collapse follows. But within this chaos lies a lesson. In every virtual world, stability is preserved not by the ones who rewrite the laws, but by the ones who understand why those laws matter. Power alone does not create. Understanding does. Control does not make a god. Wisdom does. Perhaps the true purpose of these digital experiments is not entertainment, but preparation. A reminder that the future, our future, may depend not on how much control we gain, but on how responsibly we use it. In the end, admin abuse teaches us one final truth. The greatest force in any universe is not the ability to break the rules, but the wisdom to know when not to. And in that balance, we find the fragile thread that separates chaos from creation, destruction from design, and the temporary from the eternal.